Well, hello there, and good afternoon or evening or whatever time it is when you're watching this video. Thank you for joining me. I am Frost PvP, and today we are playing Legions, Diplomacy and Conquest in the Ancient World. I think that's the full title. All I've ever known it as is Legions. So, this game is ancient. It is about ancient times, and it is extremely ancient in design. As you can probably tell, it's very pixelated. It's very blocky. It's very old. It doesn't have all of the interface things we're used to. But this was released in 1995, so you're thinking about games like Command and Conquer. Don't just think back in your mind, but look back in a mental, on an actual computer, right? Don't just think mentally. Look at a picture. Did Command and Conquer look that good? Not really, right? It was very pixely. I know we don't think of it as such, but we have in our minds super high def memory. On computers we had 800 by 600. So what does that mean for us? It means this is an old game. It means trying to play the game if you pick it up, which you'll probably have to do off of Amazon. You're gonna need an old computer, or you're gonna need a virtual machined old computer or something like that. Honestly, I had to go to my dad's house and drag out an old computer and then drag out a CD drive to even install the game. But hey, pick up the CD off of Amazon, you won't be disappointed with this game. The music's repetitive, that's why I have it so comparatively low. But generally speaking, this game is awesome because, well, it has two modes really. You have a random world mode, and you have different scenarios for random world, which is weird. But you have the same scenarios historical. So Sick Man of Europe is one that I hold dear to my heart because it's essentially what I did with my Crusader Kings 2 when the world stopped making sense campaign. And when you click a new game, it'll bring up the first nation on the list. And there's a big list. And it'll even offer like, hey, do you want to be computer or human? Well, I'm obviously human. But let's say I'm Eastern Roman Empire. We're going to set this to human too, just to play around a little bit. You can change what your character looks like. Doesn't really matter. Theodosius. I wonder if he's the one who built the walls. So you hit OK. The first player comes up. Now, it gives you some warnings. It says your emperor has arrived at Port Rome. Now that's because your emperor is a military unit. I have him selected here. He is a general, so he can actually command other units. You wanted to do that. But, you know, that's okay. We're not going to go too deep on this. We're going to just go very general and very show-offy. You have supplies, right? So first of all, you need to know an economic minister will buy your food automatically as long as you have money, and the military consumed a certain amount of tax revenue, and market pricing is stable. So money's not a problem. You click this button, it gives you your capital city information. You click the coin button, and it brings up the market. Now the market is where you go to buy and sell stuff, and as you can see, you need supplies and food. But there's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. There's wood, metal, horses, textiles, and tech. Tech is usually the first thing people look at and go, oh, you're only on tech level 3, you're screwed. Well, no. There's no tech levels in this game. The more tech you have, the more units you can build, etc., etc. The military unit building thing is a little thing. It's a window. It's like, oh, hey, I want to build in Brundisium. I want to build in Rome. And right now I can only build allied spearmen and skirmishers because I only have 3 units of tech. Basically, I have 3 pieces of tech. I can't build very much right now. Go back to the market, however, and you'll see that you have a treasury of 2,000. And wood is actually pretty sellable. So I'm going to sell, if you double click, it's going to sell a total of 11. I'm going to sell a bunch of this, I'm going to buy a bunch of this. So I sold wood, I bought tech. Now, when I go back to the unit building screen, oh, I can build a bunch of light cavalry. Cavalry take 10, by the way, 10 horses, just a universal number. I don't remember the other numbers, and truthfully, the digits, the stats, you know, those things that you're supposed to know to make decisions, they're in the manual. They do not appear in the separate help menu, at least not that I can find. It just says stuff like, oh, they did this historically. Okay, back, like cohort, Roman discipline, blah, 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 but it doesn't actually give you numbers. separate window is really weird. There's this button here that you'll always want to click, which is turn on and off flag markers. That way you know who's who. I like having the units system on, which is this button here, show all units. There are tricks to being able to tell if an enemy has units in his territory. This is a capital city. Any cities where you can build units. These little villages just supply stuff. They don't supply on the first turn. This guy is the Eastern Roman Empire, and I can tell that because I've played this game a bunch, but also because preferences, nope, go to Windows, go to Map Overview Unit, 300 by 300. This is a poor man's version of a map of basically the Eastern Mediterranean. Rome is here, this little boot on Italy, this is Greece, this is Constantinople, this is the Black Sea. This is Egypt and Alexandria, and cities to the east, right? I think they did some scrunching, especially up in the northern regions, just to fit everything in. So like, oh, there's a capital for the Vandals. Oh, there's a capital for the Lombards. But in reality, these cities are much further away, but it's not to scale, okay? Let's call it not to scale. This is Port Ogura. This is freaking Sicily, come on. So, this is a game where you have to make alliances and play with things. For example, the tax indicator. Now, if you see this guy's face, he's kind of neutral. If you lower taxes, he gets very happy, and the streets are economically of gold. If you raise taxes up to the maximum of 20%, not only do you have a bankrupt economy, you don't even have streets left. I like to run at about 9%. It's a little bit below the average. You get a little less money, but you're always going to have a strong economy, which is going to give you better material production, so you don't have to go to the market as much. So as long as you can pay for your troops, you're good. This is a turn-based game. I put 2 players on very specifically because I'm going to show you how diplomacy works. This little button here, suggest alliance. Now, it gives you default text, but I can put anything in. I'm going to write moo. Suggest alliance to the Eastern Roman Empire. I could send other things to him, but I'm not gonna. There's all sorts of different things. Alemanni, Persians. I could message any of them and be like, hey, I declare war. Ha ha ha, die in the pits of hell. We shall burn your towns and salt your land to war. And you can make that into whatever you'd like to. Use your imagination. Tell them where to stick it. We're not going to do that. So we're going to go to the next turn. It takes a turn for messages to get there. So obviously I go through a similar situation at the start of the turn. It is a turn-based game. Now, once all human players have gone, you get this little thing here. That used to take forever on an old computer. That's the enemy making calculations. See, like the AI said, okay, I'd like to suggest an alliance. And you can say positive, negative, or no response. Oh look, the army's consuming less. And if I go to the market screen, I now have 15 tech. I've already produced some new technologies. And I produced a bunch of wood, which is cheap on the market. So, every time you build a unit, like I just built a light cavalry, it takes away from, oops, wrong button, cancel. It takes away from stuff, so it took 5 tech and 10 horses, and a bunch of other stats that I don't care about. As long as you have a lot of these things, you can always spam units. They do take a certain amount of time to train, but that's okay. It does matter if you have spearmen versus archers, but I could not honestly tell you the unit times. So it takes a certain amount of time to produce these units, and it takes a certain amount of... They have different stats. Alright, just picture that in your head. They have different stats. Play around. Find what works. Hit. Play again. Moo! I said moo, you see? Imperial Rome. No response. It doesn't actually tell you it's an alliance offer, so maybe I should have written that down, but positive response. I agree to your suggestion that we form an alliance. Boo! I'm just going to turn, because I don't really care what happens in this. And boo, okay. So the other thing that's really cool is you have the ability to create a new game, go to End Game, go to Random World, put 20 empires together, and it will randomly generate a map and put a random empire as you. Now you can flip through and pick any particular empire throughout history you'd like. It does matter somewhat because different empires have access to different unit types, like I believe the Avars. I think it's the Avars. I think also the Huns. They have the ability to create like berserkers as opposed to just spearmen, but they're different, right? Each country has a different start condition. And in this, you create a randomly generated world. That's right, procedural generation. Again, you want to bring the mini-map up, and you want it to be as big as you can get it, because otherwise you can't see anything. Every map will generally look the same, which will also have... Oh man, this is a bad island. So I want to point out one of the greatest flaws in this game. This is an island. There are 4 capital cities. None of them is adjacent to a water tile, which means none of them can build transports, which means none of these players could ever possibly, again, ever possibly get off that island. They're trapped there. They're absolutely defenseless. There are 20 capital cities, and the math alone says eventually they will get naval invaded and beaten. They are literally unable to escape their fate. So this isn't a random world I would use just on the basis of fairness to the AI and to the player. Yes, the AI can and will build boats. Is it any good at that? Probably not, but it can and will build boats. You will always see enemy units in red where you will not be. But it doesn't just have to be enemy in the sense that, oh, they're your enemy. They could be your ally, it'll still be red, I believe. It's just AI. It's an other player. These random worlds can be a bit large, but that's fine, because large isn't a bad thing. Plus, this is not to scale, so it looks much larger of a distance between the capital cities than there really is, which is probably a good thing. Although, as you might expect, different terrain hinders unit movement and provides bonuses in defense. So attacking to the hills, or can't go in mountains, but hills is a bad idea. Warcraft 2 came out the year this came out. I mean, think about that. Warcraft 2 was pretty advanced for its time, though. It was like genre-defying. This was an average game that got forgotten by time. That's why I'm bringing it back up, because it's an average game that could have been really reimagined and sequelized. I mean, imagine if, stuck in this little scenario, you had a unit that could take any of these little things in over 10 months or something, or 12 months, build it into a city. If you could just pack up and move your capital, if you could say, this is no longer my capital, and it would shrink, and this would grow. And some economic effect. That would have been a game, it would be a genre-revising thing. This is a more long-term tactical unit-by-unit game than something like Europa Universalis, even though units are measured in hundreds of men. I'm going to use a different map. I already have it pre-generated. It's actually perfect for my circumstances, for my series in this game, but I am going to do a series in this game. I'm not going to put a lot of episodes out until after I finish my Northeast achievement, because I know you guys want to see that, but I'm definitely sprinkling some Legions in because I love this game, and I at least want to play it one more time before I really say, alright, I played it for my channel, I don't ever have to play it again. But I had to play this for you guys because, honestly, even if it's a shitty game, and if you think this is a terrible game, how could it ever isolate players in the middle of nowhere? How can it not have mouse scroll? I mean, Jesus. How ancient. But that's just the thing, right? Sometimes it's nice to go back and look at old games because it'll give you ideas for new ones. This is very much more like chess than Europa Universalis. It's much more like Civilization than Europa Universalis or CK2 or any of the other Paradox games that we're so fond of. And it's a good game. It really is fun, and we're going to play it for you together. And you're going to leave me your comments, your thoughts. How do I get this game? What do I do where and when? And I'll try to answer that for you. If you want to see more, like and subscribe. The more likes this video gets, the more I know that it's something you guys want to see. I don't know if Good Old Games could ever acquire the license for this because the company that created it, which is called Mindscape, has probably been gone forever. But it's something that you guys might enjoy. Maybe they will get the license for it. Maybe someone will create a fan patch. I don't know. Maybe nothing will happen and no one will watch this, and this will sit on the internet for 20 years until it's discovered. That's part of putting a message out. But as a historian, I feel like I have to put the message out, because otherwise this game will be completely forgotten except by sites like Moby Games, which I love you guys, but you don't actually provide the game. And nor could you necessarily legally do so. That's my thoughts. As always, thank you for joining me. La Paz. And by the way, when I alt-tab out, the music dead stops. So it's awesome. I'm not even sure if the video continues to pump. But as always, La Paz.